FM, inspiring families, inspiring you. That's who we are. That's what we do.
Hi, I'm Petreece Cuffie, counselor and trainer, and one of my deepest desires is to see people experience the fulfillment and growth that comes through healthy relationships. We're wired for relationships, so tune in and join with me as I explore and discuss tools for healthy relationships every Monday, 12:15 p.m. on Isaac 98.1 FM.
Well, guys, at this time, we have Petreece Cuffie on with us for Healthy Relationships. Petreece, apologies to all the listeners, apologies, but I had to run through some rain today. Nevertheless, we are here, and thank you for your patience. So I want to go right over to you because I know we're already behind schedule time.
Yes, sure. So good afternoon to all of you as our listeners, and happy that you're safe, Tiffany. It's life. So continuing with the characteristics of healthy marriage, and I'm on to number 9, and it's 10 of them. And today I'm dealing with intentionality. And again, let me just remind you what those 10 characteristics are. 1, commitment. 2, fidelity. 3, acceptance of one another. 4, trust. 5, emotional intimacy, love and affection. 6, shared activities and friendship. 7, communication. 8, conflict resolution and empathy. 9, intentionality. And 10, a growth mindset. And today I'm dealing with number 9. If you've missed any of them, you can find them on Isaac 98.1 FM, their Facebook page. You can also find it on FBN TV under Healthy Relationships. So, intentionality. All marriages have room for improvement. All. Intentionality means identifying a point of pain in your marriage and thinking about and discussing how you can improve it by having a goal that you are working towards together. This goal can be anything. So it could be more quality time as a couple, increased sexual activity, speaking to each other more kindly. It can be anything. So anything in your relationship that you believe, has room for improvement, you can make it a goal to be intentional about working on that issue. It means that we are involved in and actively working to make our marriages the best that they can be. So this is what intentionality, and this is very important if we have to have healthy marriages. You actually have to be intentional about your marriage being healthy, right? We have a plan and a vision for our marriage, and we are determined to see it happen. And I want to really say hats off to those many couples who seek counseling, whether through what I do, even through other counselors, as they really try to make their marriages better, not just for themselves, but also for their community, whether it be church community, home community, family, and for their children and the generations to come out of them. It can be a lot of work, but hats off to all of you all who continue daily to be intentional about your relationship and to make it better, right? So we have to remember that a healthy marriage does not just happen. It doesn't just happen, right? Your children, they have to study to get good grades, and you ensure that they do certain things. If you want to build a home, so many people have built homes. They bought land, built homes, and they had to be very intentional about that happening, right? So we have to be the same way with our marriages. Nothing happens if we don't be intentional and have certain plans. So, are you being intentional about your marriage? Do you and your spouse have a plan for your marriage? Do you have a vision for what you want to be, for how you want to be interacting with each other on a daily basis? Do you just fuss about things that you don't like, or argue about things you want, or do you intentionally discuss and work on the areas that need to change? And sometimes couples need help in having conversations, and that's something counselors do. That's something I do. Even couples need help in having difficult conversations, and that's a topic I would have touched on in the past, because you can't work together if we can't communicate, right? And we would have discussed communication. A marriage can only work for a short period of time on autopilot, or a passionate feeling about, we have some form of passion here before we start feeling taken for granted and disconnected. It's only so long we can go on autopilot for. If we are not doing certain things daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, that keeps us connected, we will become disconnected as a couple. Schlitt, certified Christian life coach of I Heart My Marriage, shared 5 keys to an intentional marriage, and I'm quoting from her. How can I be intentional in my marriage? Being intentional in your marriage means being proactive and working on your marriage each day and every day. And this is not about hard work. This is about being intentional. And after a while, it doesn't even feel like work, because it becomes, this is me talking here, because it becomes second nature. It's just what we do now. As a couple, we develop certain habits and certain rituals that keep us connected, keep that love and respect flowing. So being intentional involves taking responsibility for your actions and the effect that they have on your marriage, and also making adjustments when things start to go off track. And she would have shared 5 keys that are important if we desire to be intentional about our marriage. So I'm listening from what Schlitt would have shared, right? And she shared these 5 keys. 1, and these are things we know: make your spouse a priority. When we say I do, our spouse was the most important person in our life and most important human being in our life. But over the years, the pressures of life crept in and slowly overwhelmed us, dropping them from that exalted position of importance to just another line on our to-do list. Over time, this demotion can cause anger and resentment for the spouse who feels like they have been ignored or kicked to the curb. Avoid this by making your spouse a high priority in your life and not making them take back seat to your career or even your children. And therefore, if you're thinking about making your spouse a priority, so this is what you want, we need to be able to look at, and this is Petreece talking here, this is not the article, we need to be able to look at what does that look like? What does making my spouse a priority look like? And what are those sometimes 1 or 2 or 3 things that we can do that says to my husband, that says to my wife, you are a priority? And what are some of those things? And it's always good to focus on the positives. What are these things we can do? And of course, we can look at some of the things we need to stop doing in order to make our spouse a priority. Secondly, the author would have shared, date your spouse and spend quality time together. It was because of dating and that we initially fell in love with our spouse. The time we spent together doing things we mutually enjoyed helped create the intimacy that eventually found us saying I do to each other. But sadly, after marriage, most of us stop dating our spouses and we rarely spend quality alone time together to connect like we did when we were dating. While we can all try to blame this on the fast pace of the lives that we lead, the main issue is that few of us actually make dating our spouse and spending quality time with them a priority like we did when we were dating. Again, diverted from the article, and if my husband is listening, I really want to commend him for this. Quality time is not his love language, but it is mine. And one of the things that he has done, he has intentionally made it a part of our culture as a couple. So even when I might sometimes, forget about it, he said, no, this is what we're going to be doing. This is what we're going to be doing this week on this day. And I really, really appreciate him for that. So just shouting him out for that, right? And it's just so, so important. If this describes you and your spouse, or you can't remember the last evening you spent alone time with them, take the time to do something about it. Commit today to taking time out of your busy schedule to bring back dating into your relationship. And this doesn't have to be every week, and it doesn't have to cost money. Sometimes it's just twice a month, sometimes once a month, doing something special. However, right, we have to set aside some kind of daily time to have some kind of one-on-one quality time or alone time to reconnect and strengthen your relationship. Sometimes just 10 minutes of giving each other, and I know I diverted from the article, but I'm just sharing here, of giving each other undivided attention. 10 to 20 minutes of just sharing things that happening in your life. Sharing, laughing, talking, connecting. Undisturbed time, and you will be surprised to see the big difference that it would make in your marriage. So just 10 to 20 minutes of undisturbed quality time each day, and a date night possibly every other week, every 3 weeks, once a month, will make the world of a difference in your marriage. Number 3, don't underestimate the importance of sexual intimacy. Sexual intimacy in marriage is important to building happy and healthy marriages. Unfortunately, one of the first casualties of our fast-paced marriages is usually loss of sexual intimacy in marriage. The hectic pace of life can often cause one or both spouses to be too tired for sex, or feel that there just isn't enough time for it due to schedules, with work, or with children. To combat this and to keep the passion alive in the marriage, we must learn to make sexual intimacy with our spouse a priority, even if you have to schedule it. This is me talking here. Schedule it does not mean something is wrong with you. Many times, because of how hectic life can be, we need to schedule sexual activity. And this is me speaking here now. Husbands, please remember the sex needs of your wife. And wives, please remember the sex needs of your husband. And they are very different. For women, a lot of it, when we think about the sex needs of a wife, of a woman, they have to do with how she's treated by her husband on a daily basis. So how he interacts with her, how he treats with her, how he makes her feel loved, using the love languages and those things, right? A woman's sex needs, a lot of them, if not all of them, are outside of the bedroom. And for the husband, it is largely related to his wife's responses to the sex act. So we have to understand, as husbands and wives, we are different. So even as I talk about this, understand that the way in which, husband, you treat your wife during the day, right? Remembering her, prioritizing her, letting her know how much she means to you, how lovely she is, helping according to whatever her love languages are. This will result in improvement in your sexual life. And for wives, understanding how important responsiveness to sex is for a husband. So we are different, and we have to remember that men and women are not the same. Okay? So going back into the article, the 4th one, build margins in your life. This is just so important. A margin is a blank space left on a piece of paper. Likewise, the margins in our lives is the space we leave blank in our lives to make way for rest and relaxation, time to spend with our spouse and children, and probably hobbies, right? When we try to live our life with no margins, stress, frustration, and marital issues are usually the inevitable result. I have met with couples who, oh my God, they do so much. I could see why their marriage is so difficult. And plus, having children is a whole ball game, and then children involved in multiple activities, right? So no margins, no margins. But when we work to build ample margins into our life at work, at home, and in our marriage, we find that we have a little more time to relax, to enjoy life, to connect, to spend time with your spouse, as well as having significantly lowered levels of stress. And number 5, love your spouse, in their love language. Our love language is the way we receive and naturally express emotional love. If we want our spouse to feel the love we are showing them, we must discover our spouse's primary love language, all of their love languages, and learn how to show them love accordingly. From my personal experience, I can tell you that getting this right can make a huge difference in your marriage. That's the end of the article there. Now, I can tell you from my life that being loved with your love language, so your spouse loving you in the language language or languages in which you hear I love you, and you loving your spouse in the language or languages in which he or she hears I love you, it makes a world of a difference in your marriage. So, what am I saying? All marriages have room for improvement. Intentionality means identifying a point of pain in your marriage and thinking about and discussing how you can improve it by having a goal that you are working towards together. It involves taking responsibility for your actions and the effects they have on your marriage and adjusting when things get off track. We need to be intentional about staying connected, and we need to develop our culture of love. And this is a term, I believe my husband came up with it. I don't think it was me. And really, what it is, when I discuss this with couples, whether premarital couples or married couples, it has to do with what are the things we need to do to make each other feel loved and respected day in, day out. And it has to do with love languages, with the needs of a husband and the needs of a wife, which are different, and also the sex needs of a husband and the sex needs of a wife. So understanding all of those things and what do we need to do to meet those needs and to say I love you to my spouse in the way in which he or she hears I love you, that is what composes your culture of love. So the things that we do day in, day out that says I love you, I respect you to each other, even when it comes to your sex life, and it becomes eventually second nature. So you have a marriage that is continually making the persons involved in that relationship feel loved and respected. Very, very important. Now, one of the most important things we must do in marriages, if we want them to be healthy, is to create marital rituals in our marriage. And I remember some time ago, I would have spoken about rituals for connection. That's one type of ritual, right? So we must create marital rituals. You see, behaviors create feelings, We can have behaviors in our marriage that becomes rituals, and it keep us feeling connected and passionate. We could also have behaviors in our marriages that becomes rituals that keep us feeling unloved and disrespected and alone. So good marital rituals keep us connected. And Mary Kiprani Price, a licensed marriage and family therapist, in her article, Be Intentional, she writes, what are good marital rituals? Marital rituals are interactions, or rituals are interactions that are repeated, coordinated, and significant, according to Dr. William Doherty, a relationship expert. Rituals can be something a couple does every day, once a week, once a month, or once a year. Rituals carry a positive emotional meaning for both people in the marriage. The emotional significance of rituals distinguishes a ritual from a routine. So a ritual is different than a routine. Routines are done over and over, but don't have much emotional meaning. Rituals are about having connections. You know, like when people have a ritual of every Christmas, the family gets together on Boxing Day. That is a ritual that they do every year. Every year, you know, you're going to find us by Granny home, or by Grandpa home, or by Auntie's home, wherever, every Boxing Day. And that is a ritual because it is about having connection. It has an emotional component. It does something emotional. Almost anything can be turned into a ritual of connection if the focus is on the relationship and if it becomes a time for connection. So Dorothy divides rituals into 3 categories. So we have 3 categories when we're talking about marital rituals. So we have connection rituals, we have intimacy rituals, and we have community rituals. An example of a connection ritual would be saying, I love you before leaving for the morning and returning when you return home from work. So greeting each other with a hug and a kiss and I love you. That would be considered a connection ritual, right? Another example, you know, on a Saturday morning, we go out to buy doubles together. And we laugh and talk and eat in doubles, or we exercise together. Those would be considered connection rituals. Intimacy rituals could be patterns a couple develop in their sexual intimacy, or yearly dates for anniversary, or some people celebrate Valentine's Day. These are intimacy rituals. And then you have community rituals. And those are where a couple participates in giving and receiving support in their larger community. So like your church community activities, you know, joint involvement, we involve together with community activities and doing things for others. So these are community rituals. And healthy marriages, we should have all of them. We should have the connection. So, you know, we've been apart, we come back together and we say, I love you, you hug, you're doing little things together, going out, laughing, talking, go to the grocery together, we exercise together, those connection rituals, and then those intimacy rituals, you know, your dates, celebrating anniversaries, then your community rituals, which is where we do things together with community. So whether it's our church community, our community at large, but joint activities where we're doing things for others. And marriages that are healthy have all of them. One of the standard teachings, and this is the author, Mary Capriani Price, one of the standard teachings in our field is that couples need time to talk together each day. Each day. A married couple with children who has 15 minutes of uninterrupted, non-problem solving talking every day is in the top 2% of all married couples. You are not going to have time for personal talk, especially if you have children, especially according to the ages of your children, unless you ritualize it. It has to become a ritual. So I've had couples who said they spend like 10 minutes before they go to sleep, they use that time to just talk and to catch up a little bit. And this is not about problem solving or anything like this. This is just talking and sharing, right? And I've actually seen couples who it's just the two of them, and they still have no time to talk, or they don't. They still have to arrange time to talk together. So this is something that is very important. Being intentional regarding your marriage means creating rituals that are shared activities that you do on a repeated basis. So there must be rituals that you do daily. So you want to be intentional about having a healthy marriage. What are your daily rituals that you do that say, I love you, I respect you, I honor you, right? I treasure you. What are those rituals? You are important to me. I prioritize you. What are those rituals that we do daily that says that? What are those rituals that we do monthly, that we do weekly, that we do yearly, that says this marriage and you, my partner, my spouse, is important to me. And it's important to discuss those things. You know, they could be small, they could be big. As I always say in marriage, the small things are the big things. They could be splashy, they could be simple, as long as they are a regular part of your couple life. And the goal is to help you to stay connected and to keep the relationship healthy. End of quote. Now, just in closing, some of what my husband and I did, so that is my husband, Huey, and I did to prioritize our marriage and to make it intentional. Actually, before we got married, we developed a marriage mission where we discussed how we wanted to help each other fulfill our potential, because we believe that marriage is about God will bring us together to do something together as a couple, to accomplish something as a couple. But God also brings us together to help each other. So me to help my husband to help me in fulfilling what God has placed us on this earth to do also, right? We in this marriage mission, we looked at how we wanted to help others and what we wanted our marriage to look like. You know, a lot of what we live today, we discuss 29 years ago, and we truly, truly thank God for his grace and faithfulness in being able to be living that way. So prioritize your marriage and make your relationship with your spouse the most important relationship you have after God. Generally, this may be a little harder for men than it is for women, because women, and I'm saying generally, notice what I'm saying, women are more relationship and connected oriented. So connection is what makes us feel good about life. So we tend to be more about pushing for those connections. And men are more oriented towards work and achievement, right? So you find it might be a little harder for men. And again, I'm saying generally. But if we're getting married, both persons have to make the conscious decision to put their relationship with his or her spouse above every other relationship, with the understanding that once this is done, children will be okay, ministry will fall into its rightful place, and we will be able to weather the storms of life together with God's grace. And some practical ways in which we have done this, right? We have created rituals. So my husband and I, we have created rituals. So my husband will normally give me a kiss and he tells me he loves me before I go to sleep. That's like a ritual. And I notice he does it. I don't. I don't, right? Once we leave each other's company, come back into each other's company, we will greet with a kiss and some form of touch, right? This and many other simple ways of staying connected have become habits or rituals in our marriage. Something else we do, so we've created rituals. That's one of the ways that we continue to try to, keep the marriage healthy. We really listened and did what the other person said, made him or her feel special, loved, and respected. So that whole concept of love languages is something that we have implemented in our marriage. And we also stopped doing some of the things that really ticked each other off. This would have taken some conscious effort and work at the beginning, but it was worth it. It is worth it. Remember that you don't naturally know how to love your spouse. Your spouse does not naturally know how to love you. If he loved me, if she loved me, they will know what to do. And everybody knows how to love? No, we are different. We've come from different homes. Our understanding of what love is different. Plus, we have different love languages, right? So remember, please listen. Please ask. Please don't take it for granted that your wife should know what to do, but you don't know what it means to be a wife. Your husband should know what to do. He doesn't know what it means to be a husband, right? We love each other in ways in which each other understands, I love you. And a lot of times we have to tell each other how to say I love you to you. We check in before we make decisions, even small ones. I let people know that I have to discuss things with my husband and I will get back to them. So I don't just go and say yes or no. And then after, oops, I need to talk to Huey. And then, of course, I say yes. And then let's say we discuss it and we decide no. Huey end up looking like the bad one. Because, of course, I would have said yes. No. But I let people know that, listen, I need to check it with my husband. I'll get back to you. And he does the same, right? When we are not together, we speak positively and praise each other in the company of others. So my husband does a lot of training, and I have literally met people who told me they knew me before they met me because they heard so much about me when he does his workshops. Speaking, this actually research has shown that couples where they speak about each other positively in their absence, those marriages do well. Another one is that we ensure to make time for quality time together, right? Sometimes we didn't have money or anything fancy, so we sat on a bench and talked and laughed, right? We bought a bag of palori, shared it, we bought ice cream. When we got a car, because we don't always have a vehicle, right? When we got a car, we would go out for a drive, stop somewhere, talk and laugh. We window shop together, okay, we don't have money to buy this, we window shop together. But we ensure that we spend quality time together. Another one, we made each other's need for love and respect a priority. We did not speak to others nicely, complimenting others, doing favors for others without a fuss, and then we are not doing the same for each other. So, you check, because sometimes you could show up really wonderful people on the outside. Everybody on the outside, oh my God, your husband is the best. Your wife is such a wonderful, giving person. And then you kind of head rolling in your eye somewhere. Head rolling in your eye rolling in your head somewhere. Because you're saying like, who is that? That is not how he is at home with us. That is not how she is at home with us. So please check yourself. It cannot be that persons on the outside getting all this love and affirmation and service and all these things from you, and wife at home, husband at home, not feeling that also, right? We support each other in areas that may not necessarily be a passion for us, right? So, of course, my husband really loves sports. And now there's not a sport, I think. Well, they have some sports probably I don't know about yet, but most sports now I can talk about because he loves most sports. I am not compelled to look at sports with him, but sometimes I will. So I would sit with him, chat, talk with him, looking at sports. And of course, I now love cricket because I was not a cricket person. I didn't come from a cricket home. I used to tell people I come from a football home and a basketball home. Right? And now I love cricket. And I say to my dismay at times. So my husband, of course, he has supported me in many ways in things I know, okay, it's not his cup of tea, but he loves me, right? Um, and we plan churches together and do a lot of ministry work together, including our work with married couples. So very important. We are talking about being intentional in your marriage. Have a marriage mission. Just look at one area in your marriage that may need to improve and just work on that one area. Be intentional as a couple to work on that area. And if you're having problems, please reach out for help. Please don't just stay there. Things aren't going well. Reach out for help. You'll be shocked to know that one or two seemingly simple changes can have a profound impact on your marriage. So I'm turning over to Tiffany at this time. And I pray that God will give you the grace to be intentional about your marriage, because that is a very important characteristic of healthy marriages.
Thank you so very much, Petreece. And I have a question here. I know we are on the time, but I want to get this one in. This business saying my wife never has time for me, only with her family and friends. She never wants to talk, communicate with me, but says she loves me. What do I do?
Well, I think it's important that you tell her how it makes you feel, not just in terms of this is what I need, but this is how this makes me feel. I feel unloved. I feel disrespected. I feel like I'm not a priority. So you're not attacking her. You're using I statements, and tell her what you would like. I love you so much. I want to be around you, or I want this marriage to work. And what I think would help is if so. So you're taking it from the aspect of hoping that she can empathize with how her behavior is impacting you. And of course, there may be other underlying issues there. So even if that type of communication doesn't go well, where you're saying, this is how this behavior makes me feel, so you're not attacking, you're also sharing, I really love you. I love spending time with you. And it would be great if we could spend more time together. And you could even give some things of how we could spend more time together. That doesn't work, then seek to try to get help. Or you could even ask, are there any things that would be preventing you from wanting to spend time with me? You might be surprised at the answer, right? But be open to having a conversation where both persons truly feeling heard and understood. So your wife shares, and you could say, okay, let me see if I hear what you're saying. So you're saying so and so and so. Am I getting you right? And then you could validate that. Okay, I can see how it is like that for you. I can see how that makes sense. And it makes sense because, and I can imagine that you would be feeling so. So try to see if you can have a conversation about it. If that doesn't work, get help.
And one more, if I may. I know we're dealing with intentionality today, but we had a question from last week with empathy. What about if you are trying to share something with your spouse and he or she shows no empathy whatsoever and instead say to you, get over it?
You should get help. You should get help. And a lot of times when things like that happen, the person may feel like things would have happened to them and they receive no empathy. And now you're looking for empathy, just get over it. Because there were things that happened to me and I felt no empathy coming in my way. So people can shut down their empathy because they have been in pain and it was never acknowledged by the other spouse. So now when the other spouse is looking for empathy, just get over it. So in a situation like that, if you know that things would have happened on your end where you didn't show any kind of empathy, it might be good for you to revisit that. And therefore you could understand why this person is shutting down or get help.
Thank you so very much, Petreece. I know those persons are locked on, and we appreciate you as usual. All right, so once again, we do apologize for the late start, but guys, check out if you missed anything at all. Remember, you can feel free to head on over to Isaac the Promise on Facebook, where we are streaming live now, and also FBN TV on YouTube. Petreece, thank you so very much once again, and until we meet again, all right? So have a blessed one. And God bless you.
Bye-bye. God bless
you. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Petreece Cuffie, counselor and trainer, and one of my deepest desires is to see people experience the fulfillment and growth that comes through healthy relationships. We're wired for relationships, so tune in and join with me as I explore and discuss tools for healthy relationships every Monday, 12:15 p.m. on Isaac 98.1 FM.
Isaac